So just so you guys know, every session, every single Thursday is recorded, and this recording is placed in a profile in a course inside of our online coaching platform. Michael, if you don't mind putting the link in the chat box for everybody to know the platform. It's the freedomsop.com. If you have not joined the freedomsop.com, please do so. You're just going to go, you're going to read a website there with some information on it, and then you can join for free. It's 100% free. We are in the process of developing and building courses inside there. So over the next 60 to 90 days, we'll probably have about 20 to 25 courses in there. And those courses will each have a certain amount of videos depending on the course. And those courses will allow us the opportunity to give you a ton of information, a ton of education, and just a platform that you could go to get massive information all the time, right? And so inside there currently, we probably have like some maybe 50, 60 videos. The goal is by end of year to be at 350 videos. By end of Q1, be at 450 videos. Now I think we might take a breather and chill out for a minute, right? But the idea is to get you a tremendous amount of education information as possible. If you guys got cameras, turn them on. Don't be shy. I don't care what you look like. Everybody's beautiful to me. So turn them on. Let me see you. There's nothing worse than teaching a class with a bunch of boxes with names on them, all right? So work with me here. All right, if you've never attended any of our trainings, first thing we do is we chat in the box and we write one thing. It's a freedom day. Go ahead and chat that in there, guys. Write it inside the chat box. It's a freedom day. It's a freedom day for all of us. Freedom coaching comes from the old idea that it is a freedom day, and we are developing our freedom by building, by learning, by educating ourselves and bringing us to the table, right? So I want to see that in the chat box. Go ahead, everybody, type it in there. It's a freedom day. Take a second. There you go, Matt. It's a freedom day. Let's get it done. I love it. Yanetta, Line, thank you. Good seeing you. Woo! Nice. Love seeing it. Love seeing it. So ideally, we developed this entire coaching platform to help bring freedom to about 1 million people in the world. That's my goal. And if I hit that goal, I probably never know it, but I'm going to keep trying until I do, right? You never know who you affect and when you affect them, and the time comes. Today, I decided to do something a little bit different. We had this massive conference last week, Thursday. And at this conference, we had amazing speakers come into the room. And we had about 650 people show up. It was a fantastic conference. It was here in South Florida. And we hosted it with New World Title. Freedom Coaching and New World Title did it together. And we hosted Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry came out, took 3.5 hours of the morning. It was killer. We had a bunch of great speakers. And so what I did was, with my sales team, I had a conversation with them on Tuesday. And I said, what were your biggest takeaways? If you attended the conference, go ahead and put a thumbs up inside the chat box there if you attended the conference. I would love to see how many folks in here were actually at the conference. And what I would like to do is, once you put that thumbs up in there, I might pick on you in the future in this class, right? So Matt, thanks. I'm going to pick on you and a couple other folks, right? And what I want to do is I want to bring you the biggest takeaways that we had. All right, so Matt, Wilda, you're direct messaging me. Go ahead and put it out so everyone can see. Same thing, Kat.
Auxiliary input mode.
All right, and so please keep your things muted. I appreciate you guys. All right, so we had this amazing day of just massive information, and I thought to myself, man, next Thursday, I'm just going to come to the table with the biggest takeaways of what people were saying, right? Because what do you think the biggest topic was that entire day? Biggest topic was, oh my God, the market is shifting, right? Like, oh my God, like the world's crumbling, everything's going to happen. Like, what do we do with our businesses? Like, where are we going next? And pretty much every speaker that stepped on the stage addressed how we're adapting to the new market, how we're changing. It's beautiful. Somebody just said we need to adapt. how the market has shifted. And if you've been in the business for less than 10 years, you have no idea what to expect. And the reason that I say that is because for the last 10 years, we've had nothing but an ascending market. You guys agree? Type yes in the box if you agree, right? We've had nothing but an ascending market. Type yes if you agree, right? Every single year, year after year, prices have gone up, interest rates have come down, and we've just been hammering away, right? Thing is, in that type of market, what we often find is that it's very easy to do business. Although some of you may think that it was hard to do that business because you would find yourself on this line, like if you were entering a nightclub and there was a bouncer at the door at open houses trying to get your contract in, right? It was insanity, you know? And the joke last year was like, hey, hit me up if you want to go to this open house. I'll get you in up front, And so it was just a very different feel. And that type of market we haven't seen for a very, very long time. Even 2007, 2008 was not that. We created a frenzy, and we created a frenzy with very low inventory, right? Now, what we're starting to see is a unique change. And that unique change is not true for the entire country. That unique change is really dissected into where you are and where your housing market is. So the critical pieces here is understanding your exact market, because I live in Miami. If you don't live in Miami, I promise you our two markets are different, right? And so what I study here in Miami is very different than the team that we have in Virginia and what's happening for them. Or I don't even need to go that far. I could say the folks that are in Cape Coral, or the folks that are in Port St. Lucie, or the folks that are in Orlando, or Lake Mary, or Tallahassee, or Jacksonville. All of our markets are very different. Now, Miami's market is unique in the sense that it's a destination location, right? Similar to Orlando, if you will, but Orlando's an entertainment destination location where Miami has developed a ton of business. So different thought process, different business ideas, but still similar markets, right? And so what we're finding is that the biggest takeaway that a lot of people took away, and I'll write these things on the board, and we'll kind of mess around with it. There we go. So biggest takeaway, and we often talk about this in our coaching, but the biggest takeaway was know and study your market.
Market.
Right? Know and study your market. Now, when you know and study your market, it changes everything for you, because you lose the commonality of the typical answer when somebody asks you, hey, how's the market? Right? So somebody comes to Braulio, and I'm just picking names, guys. Somebody comes to Braulio, says, Braulio, how's the market? If Braulio doesn't know his market, Braulio's unique answer is, market's fantastic, right? Because we're realtors. So we're going to be like, market's fantastic. I can find you a home today. It's amazing. Like, it's so much better than it was 6 months ago. 6 months ago, we would have been on a line with 50 other people, right? Now we can actually negotiate, and although that's a wonderful answer, how true is it? And so when people ask me that here in South Florida, I ask them, well, what part of town are you looking in? What part of town are you in? Because I live in Miami, and Miami's very compartmentalized. Like, we have very different, like, Homestead's different than Kendall. Kendall's different than Doral. Doral's different than downtown. Downtown's different than Brickell. And all of these places are in Miami, right? So I need to understand these markets at a very high level. So the biggest takeaway was know your market, study your market. Some of the tips given were, we oftentimes are quick to set up our clients on an auto property search, right? So if somebody says, I want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom in Port St. Lucie, can you set me up on a search? And you go, absolutely. And you put them on the MLS and you send them a search. But we're not as quick to send it to us. So one of the biggest takeaways in attachment to this was set yourself up on hot sheets, right? So you set yourself up on hot sheets, right? And then you set yourself up on, and this is on your market, right? So like knowing your market specifically to the area that you're in. So set yourself up on getting how many properties closed, when active, pending, and expired. These numbers are going to give you a tremendous amount of information. If you're studying this on a daily basis, you're going to be able to answer that question in a much more unique fashion. Not only will you be able to answer that question in a much more unique fashion, but the biggest piece that you're going to get from this is if you can start spreadsheeting this. All right. So open up a Google spreadsheet. And every day when you see the numbers, just plug them into the spreadsheet. What that's going to do is going to give you an overview, because you may not remember what was happening a month ago, but it'll give you a massive overview and know, hey, just a month ago, we had 400 properties on the market active. Now we have 200. What's happening? Lack of inventory. Or, hey, just a month ago, we had 2 expireds. Now we got 13 expires. Well, what does that mean? People are overpricing, they're staying on the market longer. Just a month ago, we had 50 closed sales. Now we have 20 closed sales. What does that mean? That means people are sitting on the market longer, negotiations are stronger, prices are still being put up high, and we got to get focused on getting down to a normalistic marketing price, right? So this was probably one of the best pieces that I particularly wanted to share with you guys, because a lot of people discussed it and a lot of people came up with different ideas on how to study the market. Now, there are some other things that I do personally, and there are some other things that other people do as well. One of them is I have a Google search set up for me already. So what I do is you could go to Google and you could search Google hot words, right? Or keywords. And you could set yourself up to receive articles on the keywords that you put in there. So I put the words Miami real estate, Fort Lauderdale real estate, Broward County real estate, Miami-Dade real estate. And so I put those things in there. And what happens is every single morning, Google sends me an email with articles or things that have come out that discuss the real estate in my area. And the email is just, I get the links so I can look to see if there's anything important that I'd like to read, right? Like Mark Anthony just bought a house for $500 trillion. That's not something I need to read, right? It's entertaining, but it's not something I need to read, right? But then it says, so-and-so realtor interviewed, market housing down 10%. Well, that might be something I want to go read, right? And what I'm going to tell you is to be extremely careful with the information that you pull away. Be careful with the information that you take from these folks, right? Be careful who you're listening to. If realtor so-and-so gets a great news article about how the market is down 10%, you go do the math and see if that's true. You're in the same market, right? So you go do the math and see if that's true. Biggest problem today is that we are, as human beings, receptive to what's happening on social media today. And the problem with that is that a lot of people will go into social media and they will just say something out of the box. And then that sounds hot to about 100 other agents. So those 100 other agents regurgitate that same information. You guys have heard me say this before. They regurgitate that same information and put it back out there. And when they do that, well, that becomes the narrative. That becomes what people are listening to, and that becomes what we as human beings absorb. So my challenge to you sitting with me today is control the narrative. Put the correct information out. Don't just study the market and not say anything about it. Study the market and go hard on telling the world about it. Right? So, second takeaway, exposure. And marketing. Now, marketing can be so much fun. but many of us as real estate agents, we do not put enough effort into marketing ourselves as real estate professionals. We fail to realize that no matter who we're associated with and no matter where we hang our license, we are the business, right? You are your own business. Karina runs her own business. Braulio runs his own business. Jeff runs his own business. Wilda runs her own business. Let's see, Chancey team run their own business, right? You guys are in business for yourselves. You got a real estate license and you started a business. It doesn't matter that you hung it with a company. None of that matters. What matters is that if you don't work this week, you don't get paid, right? If you grind and hustle and build a business, you get paid, right? Those of you that got into real estate because you assumed you would have more time to do the things that you love, joke's on you, right? So exposure and marketing, we don't put enough effort into this. Now, there are some people that I know that do a fantastic job at massive exposure on social media. And so what I do is I like to study this and I like to see where their exposure goes. So I check their numbers to see if the exposure actually helps them create clientele. And you'll be surprised how many folks do a fantastic job at marketing themselves and a very bad job at capturing business. So this is where I'm going to go with this. What I would love for you guys to do is put your marketing to a test. First of all, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all free, right? Try it free for first, okay? Go free marketing, free exposure. And like I said, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all great avenues of exposure. Twitter obviously is going through a transition right now, but believe it or not, there's a great group of followership on there, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to try something great. Here, I'm going to erase this because I'm going to bring it to the top. So we'll build a chart. This is what I want you to do. This piece right here, this is your photo or video. Now, if you ask me, I'm a huge fan of video. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. But when you're scrolling down social media and you see a video with words on it, you tend to stop for a second and read that. Even if for a second, you tend to stop, read the first few words, and go through it. So if you want to create better video, download an app called CapCut, C-A-P-C-U-T, CapCut. What this is going to allow you to do is take your arm pod, and I call it your arm pod because it's not a tripod, it's your arm pod, is going to grab your phone, hold it like this, make a video talking about the market or talking about a restaurant you went to or talking about a sale that you just did or giving somebody a tour of a house or talking about a neighborhood or whatever it is that you do to give yourself forward movement, right? Hold it like this, make the video, go into CapCut on your phone, upload the video into there, go to auto generate captions and it'll create the captions for you, right? Download this video and you could put all kinds of fun stuff. Once you learn how to use the app, you can do all kinds of great stuff with it. But for right now, the idea is the captions. Why? Because if you create a video with no captions, 98% of people are watching their Instagram with no sound. If you want them to turn on the sound, say something interesting right from the beginning, right? And we can get into that in a second. Take this video and in the description, add a link. Where do you want them to go? What is the purpose of this video? Right? Now, if you really want to get technical, there are a couple places that you can send them to. One is a landing page. If you want to get crazy great with it. Two is a, excuse me. Two is a blog on your website. And three is your main site. but I want you to get very specific with your main site. So I'm going to use my neighborhood because I know my areas, right? So if I am standing in Coral Gables and I am doing a video about Coral Gables, do I send them to my main page or do I go to my website? Do I do a search for Coral Gables properties and then send them to that page? I'm going to send them to the Coral Gables page because that's what I'm talking about, right? I'm going to send them directly to that Coral Gables page. Landing pages can be created easily on any on any CRM that's full-fledged, right? Like Chime or anything like that. You could create landing pages for properties as well. So what does that mean? If I'm giving a tour of a property, right? Hey, I'm at 123 Main Street and I'm giving this great property, blah, blah, blah. You could send them to that landing page. Now, let's talk about blog for a second. A lot of people have asked me, I'm not great at writing, so forth and so on. I go, that's cool. Take your video, right? That you kept under 90 seconds, by the way. Take your video and upload it. There's several websites. Just Google transcribe my website, right? Or transcribe my video. Okay. I use one, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it in the coaching platform if you're in there. And there's one that I use. It's like 1 cent per minute or 10 cents per minute. It's like ridiculous, right? So if I'm going 90 seconds, I'm paying 20 cents. You know what I mean? To get this done, or 90 cents to get this done. It's ridiculous. And they will transcribe the entire video for you. And now you could go to your blog, you can place your video in there, and you could place your content in there. You could do the same thing on YouTube. You could do the same thing in any other platform. You could do it on your on your other place. So Michael, my assistant, just put it in there. We use happyscribe.com, right? It's in the chat box. Okay. And so what you'll find is that you've created content, but you want to send them somewhere. You want to send them to a link. And what I'm finding is a lot of folks are creating content with no direction. And why does that make sense? I mean, I get that you're buying the attention. I get that you're getting attention from your sphere of influence, from the people that follow you. But don't you want people to search for properties? Don't you want to work with people, buyers and sellers, right? So you get massively specific. That link should have a lead capture. Now, if you use websites or if you use programs like Chime, Boomtown, Follow Up Boss, or any of that stuff, all of those have the capability of creating lead capture. You take the link, you lead to lead capture. Now, here's the crazy part. I'm going to blow your mind right now, right? When the lead comes in, call them. Then next is set a face-to-face. Then next is create a client, create a relationship. Create a client, create a relationship, right? Now, when I tell you that folks will have hiccups in this right here, right? You're going to find that folks are going to have a ton of hiccups here. And typically, great creators have a hard time picking up the phone. Or the flip side, people ain't got no problem picking up the phone, are calling me and saying, man, Dave, I really don't want to be in front of the camera. And so we got to find this happy median real quick, because although you might not want to be in front of the camera, your face is your brand, not your logo, not any of that. Your face, your personality, who you are is your brand, right? And so people go, I don't look good on camera, Dave. Well, man, I got news for you. That's how you look every day when you walk out the house, right? So, that's how the world has received you, my love. So we got to keep rolling with it, right? And so I encourage you guys to really get in and start creating some video. Now, if you want to start testing this out with photography, go to Canva, right? Canva. Go, Michael, put that in there. Go to Canva, right? And create an account. I think they have a free version, and then like the super updated version is a whole $12 a month. And create your graphics in there. Very easy to do. By the way, that's another option for video. You can create your videos, load them into Canva. You could create all kinds of words and verbiage and do graphics and like pop-up stuff. And if you begin to have fun with this, you do this really, really well. But create your photo or video, send them to a link, create a call to action, a CTA, right? That call to action is critical. What do you want them to do? So I do this great video on Coral Gables, and I'm like, look at this, is this, and the Biltmore, and blah, blah, blah. Hey, by the way, if you're interested in buying or selling in Coral Gables, I am your guy. Click the link below and register on my website, and I will call you immediately. By the way, if you say that, you got to do it because you got to keep your word, right? So it's better to say it. Send them to the link, capture the lead. Have some form of capturing that lead so that you're alerted that somebody actually registered on your website. When they register and you get that push alert, that text message, that email, that like your phone just goes nuts and blows up and tells you that, John Smith just registered on your website, call them. Just call them. So a lot of agents do this before they call them so they could work up the nerve. They go into the CRM to see which property they were looking at, when they registered, how long they were on there. None of that shit matters, guys. Like none of that matters. Just call them, and talk to them. Hey, Jen, I saw you were on my website just recently and you registered. My name's David Kurz. How can I help you? It's really that crazy simple. Oh my God, you called me so quick. I'm still on the website. Yes, we work with speed and efficiency in our team. Set a face-to-face. My entire mission on that phone call is to speak to them face-to-face. I want to get in front of them. Because when I get in front of them, I know I got no problem creating that client relationship. Now, what do you think happens after creating that client relationship, right? Go look at properties, write a contract, negotiate the contract, get to the closing table. But this part right here, this is the noise that we got to make moving into today's market. And by the way, you have to make more noise than anyone else, period. You have to make more noise than anyone in the history of real estate. I don't know if you guys follow names like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, all these guys, right? They became massively wealthy through making noise on social media. There's absolutely no reason why you can't do the same. None. Create the noise, make the noise, and get on there as often as possible. I would even, listen, I'm a lunatic. I would challenge you guys to do 2-3 videos a day. Why not? My wife challenged me the other day. She said, man, you have some of the craziest weeks on the planet. You should do a 5-minute Friday. Like just get on live on Friday on your Facebook and just talk about what in the world has happened this past week. And I was like, shit, that's a great idea, right? Haven't done it yet, but I might start this Friday. Just got to put it into my marketing calendar, which is going to lead me to the next takeaway. And I hope you guys can understand my raspy voice. I appreciate you guys tuning in to David Kurz with the flu. All right. So my next takeaway is this. If it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. If it's not on my calendar, it does not exist. If it's not on my schedule, it does not exist. I need you guys to get ultimately over committed to scheduling yourself out, because a lot of the information that we give folks, they often come to us and they go, Dave, how am I going to do all of this? And the truth is that we do have the time to do it. The problem is that we've not scheduled ourselves out accordingly. And when I say this, you know that if you have a Google Calendar, you can create multiple calendars on that one Google Calendar, which means that you can have a marketing calendar. And on that marketing calendar, you could put all the different types of marketings you intend to do that day, whether it be an email, whether it be a social media post, whether it be whatever it is, right? You can actually plan yourself 90 days out, and you can create content in advance and you can get it out there, right? Or you could do same day content. I'm a lunatic about same day content, right? And then you can create your appointment calendar, which is your main calendar, right? And you can have all of your stuff on there, everything. But when I say everything, ladies and gentlemen, like my calendar has meditation and prayer. My calendar has gym time. My calendar has, volleyball games. My calendar, for my kids, my calendar has, school meetings. My calendar has masterminds and classes and this and that. Everything that I could think of under the sun, my calendar has it. You guys have to get super ultimately committed to balancing your life out through scheduling yourself accordingly. Because a lot of the information that you take away, a lot of people walk away with it and they go, Dave, I just don't know how to implement this into my life. And my answer is, where does your time go? So we had a session a few weeks ago, and I challenged everyone in that session to do a 7-day project. I'll give you the 7-day project. Go to the store, Walgreens, CVS, buy a composition notebook. You guys know the composition notebook, right? It's a black and white notebook, pages on the inside, costs 99 cents. Buy yourself a composition notebook, and for 7 days straight, track your time. 7 days straight, track your time. It's not an easy task, by the way, but what you will find at the end of tracking your time is you will find out what time was bullshit and what time was money-making opportunities. And that's going to allow you to schedule yourself better. So if I was going to say, if you ask me, Dave, I'm willing to do this, do I schedule myself first, or do I work on my composition book first? I'm going to tell you, do the composition book for 7 days, and on day 8, work on your schedule. And understand what you're missing. Am I doing my calls? Am I connecting with people, right? Am I calling at least a few new people a day? Am I calling at least a few past clients a day? Am I calling at least a few sphere of influence folks a day? Am I following up with the leads that have not picked up the phone, right? Because we got leads that register on your website and they won't pick up for 3-4 months. But if you stop following up, you're not going to be the one who gets on the phone with them when they are ready. If you continue to follow up, you're going to be the one that's there when they are ready. They ain't picking up the phone because they ain't ready. They're not ready. You get frustrated because you're like, man, I've been calling this person for 3 months. You get frustrated until on month 6 because you had consistent follow-up. They go, hey, I've been getting your phone calls. I appreciate your voicemails and your video messages, because I send video messages. I'm a lunatic. I'm telling you guys, right? I sent video messages to people. I believe in it. It works. It works. I've got the data to prove it, right? And so you 6 months, person picks up the phone, tells you the story on why they didn't pick up your phone call, and then they go, I'm thinking about selling my house, and since you've been so consistent in reaching out to me, I'm so glad. My house is, I think it might be worth 2.8. And then you go, oh my God, thank God that I followed up with this person for 6 months, because all it was a phone call and a text message and a video message at least once or twice a week. That's all it took. But most of us dropped the ball somewhere around week 2. Oh, they ain't pick up the phone. I got to move on to the next thing. Right? Trust me when I tell you, people will come out of the woodwork because you were consistent enough. Right? Okay. So getting really hardcore in your calendar is the next thing. That was takeaway number 3. All right, I'm going to erase this now. I'm going to give you 2 more takeaways, and then I'm going to give my throat a rest if you guys don't mind. Right? So again, one of the other takeaways was being able to actually communicate with people consistently. And so A lot of times, let me see if I can pull this up on the net because I want to pull this up with you guys. Excuse me. I can't find it. All right. So, you know, a lot of times people ask me, how much time should I block for lead generation? My answer to you is it should be a minimum of 2 hours. But my question then will be, how much business do you actually have? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you ain't got shit going on, you ain't got no excuse. Does that make sense? Right? If you've got no business happening, lead generation should be your everything. You should be posting on social media, sending emails, and making calls like there's no tomorrow. But at bare minimum, you should call at least 5 people in your SOI. You should call at least 5 new leads. And you should call at least 5 past clients. Now, Tom Ferry does something different. He calls it a 5542. I'm okay with it, but I believe this right here is 15 phone calls. It is not, this is not a life-threatening mission right here. Like, this is completely doable. Those of you that agree this is doable, type yes in the chat. Like, this is completely doable. I need to see some yeses in the chat, right? 5 sphere of influence people, 5 people you know. 5 new leads, 5 new leads that have come into your system some way, somehow, people you haven't spoke to in forever, somebody you met at the supermarket a couple days ago, whatever it is, and 5 past clients, because your past clients are going to be responsible for the future of your business, right? Like, if you close 10 houses this year and you close 12 houses next year and you close 15 houses a year after that, that gives you at least 40 past clients right there. Those 40 past clients, each one of them should give you at least 3 referrals over the next 3 years. Think about that. How could that change your life if you stayed in constant communication with your past clients? Now, I've told this story before. I'll tell it to you guys because I see a lot of new faces. I met this agent about 6 years ago, and he put me onto something that blew my mind. He said, when I do a closing at my title company, I collect information for both sides. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if I got the buyer, I collect the seller's information as well, name, email address, phone number. If I got the seller, I collect the buyer's information, name, email address, and phone number. And I said, is that ethical? Is that okay? Like, in my brain, I was like, man, that's so wrong. And he said to me, when you close a deal, the ethics is done. The deal is complete. Therefore, you're not stealing anyone's client or bypassing an agent. The agent's responsibility to that client is done because we are transactional by nature. And I said, okay, that makes sense. I go, what do you do with it? He goes, I put them in my database. And he said to me, he goes, you know what happened to me? He goes, it didn't happen right away, but about a year after doing that, somebody called me up and said they wanted to list their house. And I asked them, why didn't you call the agent that helped you purchase the house? And you know what the client's response was? Oh, snap, I thought you were my agent. Do you know why? Because the other agent treated it exactly like a transaction. They closed a deal. They no longer communicated with the client. Therefore, it was open game for any realtor, really, to take that business. They stopped communicating with the client. If you let your past clients disappear and you no longer communicate with them, they will find somebody else to do business with, because it is not their responsibility to remember who you are. It is your responsibility to remind them who you are. Type yes in the chat box if you believe that's true. Yes. Yes. All right. Now, last but not least, and last but not least, and there's so much more that I really want to bring to you, like belong to a community, improve your circle of mentors. That's a really big one, right? Like constantly improve your circle of mentors. At some point in time, the mentors that you currently have, you will surpass, God willing, right? And so you definitely need to continue to improve your circle of mentors and be surrounded by people who will consistently lift you up, right? Um, vision, understanding your vision for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. That was a big thing. The trends of millennials buying homes right now, that's really huge. There was a really big thought process that millennials would never buy homes because they would want to travel around the country forever. And then we forgot that at some point, the millennials had to get married, have kids, and do all that stuff, right? And so, boom, here it is. Now they are buying houses. So maybe that's a market that we need to be tending to. You don't know who the millennial market is? Google it. Who are millennials? And then when you run ads on social media or you do things like that, and they allow you to focus on certain age ranges, focus on that age range and capture their attention and bring them to the table, right? Recognize community gaps. So what does that mean? That means that if you see a gap in this industry, fill the gap. That's what's going to take you apart. That's what's going to change you. That's what's going to make you different, right? So if you see a community gap, like, I always tell people, if you want to take over a community, door knock that entire community and ask them, do like a survey, say, hey, I'm a real estate agent in the community. And I want to ask you, what were your biggest dislikes when you were purchasing this home? Your experience with your agent, what was missing, right? And how could we change that? And if you were able to gather enough information like that, if you were able to door knock and give yourself an excuse to come to the table with something of value, like I intend to change the way this community operates and understands real estate, right? Then you could now fill the gap of what's missing. Look, I'll ask you this. By a show of hands, who here is hosting quarterly events in their neighborhood to inform sellers about the market? My point exactly. And you know what the crazy part is? Probably no one else is, right? And so if you have never heard of that, take this door knocking exercise and go find out what the gaps are, and then collect names and email addresses. Say, hey, if you don't mind, we're probably going to host a market update event at some restaurant close by. I don't know, John's Pizza Shop, right? And so I wanted to get your name and email address because I would love to invite you. Is that okay? And now they fill out your little thing. They give you name, email address, phone number. And then you host this event. And your first event might have a whole whopping 5 people in there, and that's okay. But the next quarter might turn into 10. The next quarter might turn into 20. The next, 2 years from now, you're sitting with 70 homeowners at a restaurant telling them what's happening in their market. You know why? Because people want to know. They want to know the data. They want to know the numbers. They want to know the truth. They don't want to know what CNN and Fox News is telling them. They want to know what you know, what you bring to the table. And that is a very unique way to become a community expert or subject matter expert in your community. That's your opportunity to take over. That's your opportunity to be the person in your community. If you live in a gated community, oh Lord, you could be doing these at the clubhouse. Go talk to management. Tell them what you intend to do, right? Hosted by our own management company. The market update, right? And then lastly, because I am who I am, be uber competitive. Listen, there's nothing wrong with collaboration. I love collaboration. I mean, shit, I give my coaching for free to all of y'all, right? But stay uber competitive. You want to sell real estate and you want to dominate a market, you're going to put somebody out of work. Be okay with that. Be okay with that. Because you got you and you got your family and you got your life to take care of. You need to focus on you. So when you out there door knocking, do it aggressively. When you're out there collecting information, do it aggressively. When you're out there hosting your events, host your events and do it aggressively. When you're out there communicating with people, lead generating, sending ads out, be aggressive. Pick up that phone, talk to people, get in front of them. Don't let anyone else take that spot from you. Don't let anyone else take that spot from you. That is your spot. You go and you earn it. All right. I want to open up for Q&A. Anybody have any questions for me? I would love it. It's 11:49. We try to stay super committed to being an hour. I thought I was going to do a half hour today because I thought my voice was going to run out, but I'm having too much fun with y'all. So anybody have any questions or anything they want to jump in on? I love it. Kat says, follow the plan, destroy the competition, or real talk con. That's right, Kat. We did talk about that on the stage. Matt Miller says, be a lion. I love it. Right. Anybody else? Anybody got anything? You can unmute yourself, jump in. Don't be shy. I love this shit, man. So talk to me.
No, this is Matt here. I just wanted to say the one thing about that I took away from the conference was
I would love that, Matt. Please.
Setting specific goals. So I had already set some goals for next year, but they were very vague. It was to double my business, to sell a few homes extra. But after hearing everyone speak about, it needs to be a number. I could sell 10 homes, but if they're $100,000 homes, that doesn't help me meet my goals. So the plan that you put out in the chat about from Tom Ferry, the business plan, I'm starting to work on that now. And I think it's really useful and sort of eye-opening to see what I'm not doing when I thought I was doing well. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of folks, I'm going to put the website in here again so you guys can join our community. And what he's saying is we had that business plan. So the business plan is posted inside the community. When you join the freedomsop.com, there's a feed, like a Facebook feed in there, along with the courses and everything else. And in the Facebook feed, I'm always putting in the information in there, and that business plan is in there. But what Matt's talking about is getting extra specific and being very, very clear with the God, with the universe, with your business, with yourself more than ever. Being super, super clear on what it is that your goals are, right? So what Matt's talking about is saying, I could say, I want to sell 10 houses next year, but if each of those houses sells for $100,000, I'm not hitting my financial goals. And so getting very specific puts you in a different position. So I'll give you an example, or I'll give you an opportunity. This opportunity says, I want to make X amount of dollars next year. Just for round numbers, let's say you want to make $100,000 next year, right? And I'm just doing round numbers, folks. I know some of you want to make $1 million, but work with me on 100,000 for right now. So I want to make $100,000 next year. I'm putting that out there, right? Okay. What's the average price point of the homes in the market that I want to sell? Let's say they're 350, right? Well, I'm going to divide that. I'm sorry. I'm going to understand how many homes I need to sell to make $100,000, right? I'm going to understand that by the average commission in the neighborhood, right? So, excuse me, guys, I'm sorry. So if I do 2.5 million at 3%, well, that puts me at 75. If I do 3 million at 3%, that puts me at 90,000. If I do 3.2 million at 3%, that puts me at 96. If I do 3.5 million, right, at 3%, well, that puts me at $105. So I can play with 3.5 million, right? And if I got 3.5 million and the average price in my neighborhood is $350,000, well, I'm going to divide that by 350, and that tells me that I have to sell 10 homes to hit the achievement of earning $100,000 this year, right? At 3%, by the way, nonetheless, like not 2.7, not 2.5, no averages or anything. I'm going at 3%, right? And so what I like to do is pump that up and say, okay, if I want to hit 10, then I need to focus on doing 14, 15, maybe even 16. Why? Do deals fall apart? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, deals fall apart all the time, right? So if I want to do 16 homes and I divide that by 12 months, well, that means I need to do at least 1.3, or let's just call it 1.5 homes a month. Now I'm going to play this game. See, I got my numbers now. I know my numbers. Now I'm going to play this game. in order for me to get 1.5 homes under contract, how many homes or how many people do I need to be working with? Multiplied by 6. 6 people at a time gets you at least 1 to 2 contracts out, right? In order for me to be actually working with 6 people at a time, how many conversations do I need to be having a day? Now, you're going to have to gauge this out for you and your neighborhood, but these are the numbers that you could put out to hit your goals and understand your goals. And by the way, your goals should be reviewed every single quarter. On March 31st, you need to sit down before April 1 and look at your goals and see if you're on track and see what needs to be adjusted. Because if you're making the 15 calls a day and that's not working for you because you're not getting the numbers that you need to figure out where the hiccup is, or you need to up your number to 20 or 25. And that's going to help you hit your goals. It's going to help you stay massively committed to what you're doing in your business. It's not rocket science, guys. It's just numbers, right? And so if you put these numbers in front of you consistently every day, right? Like my numbers, look, I'll see it. I'll show you guys, man. That's my dream board, my work board. You see those 3 pages flying over there? One page is 12 months. The next page is 36 months. The next page is 5 years. Right. And so if you're very clear in understanding what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you can put the numbers down so that you can track yourself consistently. How many people do I need to communicate with in order to get 6 people to work with me at one time so that I can put out 2 contracts a month under contract, staying consistent like that. Because now the market's a little bit different. Before, if you had 6 people went under contract, right? Now you're going to have 6 people and they're going to say, I don't know, Kendra, I think I want to look at 4 or 5 more houses before we make a decision. I'm available in 2 weeks, right? It's a very different setup, you know? Now, being consistent and having these folks in your CRM and doing all that stuff that matters. And we'll continue to have conversations about that every single week, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off. It's 11:56. I hope you were able to pull away a ton of information today, especially with these takeaways. Matt, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. It means the world. And if no one else has any questions or anything like that, wish you guys a super successful week, and we'll see you next week, guys. By the way, I'll be in Orlando next week. I don't know if anybody's going to the Orlando event. I'll post it inside the group as well, inside of our coaching platform. I'll be up there doing a presentation as well. So I'll see you guys soon. You guys take care. I hope you guys enjoyed the training today.